Yo there, I'm Ash Lily, and this is my thought view / synopsis of Star Trek Into the Darkness. If I keep looking down, it's because I've made notes, because I'm awesome. So I'm not just looking at my crotch, despite you may be thinking, this is really annoying. How do I get rid of this? Do I turn the brightness down? What do you want? Sorry, my dog's just looking at me like I'm some kind of idiot. Anyway, start again. Right, so Star Trek Into the Darkness, it starts on this planet where there's some big-ass volcano and it's about to blow up and everyone's going to die and the planet's going to be destroyed, and you get my gist. So you see Captain Kirk and he's running through and he's being chased by... Get off! And he's being chased by a bunch of natives, indigenous people. That's a better word. Because he's stolen some scroll. I don't really know what they're doing. And then Bones is there, and they have a funny kind of thing because he stuns his creature, and blah 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 blah. Meanwhile, Spock, Uhura, and Sulu are in the volcano, and they're about to put some kind of device that will make the volcano inactive. And Spock's in his radioactive suit, and Sulu's like, come on, we gotta go. And Uhura's just like, darling, I'll see you in 9 seconds. And I'm just like, God, just let him get on with his job. So he does, and he goes down, but then some engine blows up in the shuttle, and Spock falls into the volcano. But don't worry, he fell on the only rock that isn't burning or molten. And his device is fine, and he's on there, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna make this go, and the planet will be saved. And meanwhile, Kirk and Bones have jumped into the sea, and the Enterprise is nicely sitting under the sea, and Scotty's getting all annoyed because he's like, do you know the seawater's gonna corrode this, yeah? And he's like, yeah, I know, we're getting on it. Where's Spock? And they're like, well, interesting story, he's still in the volcano. So Kirk decides that he needs to go into the volcano with the Enterprise to get him out, to beam him out, because they can't beam him out from under the sea. And that's going against the Prime Directive, which is not to let the people see you, because you can't alter their fate. But, you know. So they get him out, and Spock's all like, I'm so annoyed, you're doing the Prime Directive, and me. To which Kirk is like, I just saved your life. Can you, cut me some slack? Then it cuts to London, and Mickey from Doctor Who is there, and he's all really sad, and I'm assuming his wife is really sad, and they go to a hospital, and his daughter seems to have, I'm assuming, some terminal illness because she's really ill, and she's lying in a bed, and they're all crying, and he walks outside, and it's all gloomy England, and just like normal, and he's like, oh God, and then suddenly hears a voice going like, I could save her. It's like all deep and And then Bennett coming back to his there with his ridiculous cheekbones, just like, I am here. And then it cuts off. Spock and Kirk have an interview, meeting thing with Pike. Is it Captain or is it Admiral? Don't kill me. And when they see Pike, he's like, you've disobeyed the Prime Directive, you've been reckless, you've changed the fate by stopping the volcano from blowing up. Spock filed a report, so Kirk is pissed. Warning, this will contain bad language. Have I already swore already? Oh, I really tried. Anyway, so Kirk is all annoyed and stuff, and he has the Enterprise taken away from him, which pisses him off. He's just like, what? But that sucks, and he goes and drowns his sorrows, but then Pike finds him drowning his sorrows, and it's like, I want you my first officer, because the Enterprise has been given back to me by Admiral Marcus, whatever his name is. Meanwhile, it cuts back to Mickey, who has taken some of this dude, Benedict Cumberbatch's, blood, and his daughter's all better, and then he goes down into some archive, and he has his fancy ring, and he sends a message to Admiral Marcus on the computer, and then he puts his ring in some water, and it blows up, and the whole place blows up. Which means that all the captains and first, what did I just call it? People have to meet up together in some fancy room, and Kirk's tagging on to this. He's like, something's wrong about this. Why are we having this, And Admiral Marcus is like, spit it out, boy. And he's like, well, the archives were like, for everyone. So why would you bomb an archive that's for everyone? Unless you knew that all the captains were going to meet in here. And just as he says that, that was a Gatling gun. Or phaser. Blasting through the window, and Pike gets shot, and he's like, dying, but it's alright, because Captain Kirk, throws this gun attached to a hose pipe into a thing, and it blows up the ship, but then you see this guy getting warped out, and he's like, he's got some friends, but it turns out he doesn't later on. Anyway, and, what was I saying? Yeah, so Pike dies, and Spock was like holding his face, however he does it. And then Kirk comes over, realizes he's dead, does one of those really ugly cries that you do where it's like, and you don't really say anything, one of those. And then he's just fine, he's just like, I'm over it. And then him and Spock have a mini bromance moment where he strokes Spock's shoulder, and he's like, basically this whole film is just, the bromance of Spock and Kirk. That's what it is. Where am I at? Scotty finds some kind of device in there that means that the guy could have warped away without any friends. It's like a handheld warp device. And they find out he's gone to Kronos, the Klingon homeworld, which is one place they can't go. So they go and tell Admiral Marcus, and he's like, I don't give a fuck. So he's like, take these brand new light photon torpedoes and take them with you, so you can blow him up because he's in some uninhabited city or something. And he's like, we're already about to go to war with Klingons anyway, so you park on the edge of our space, shoot them, and haul ass. That's his exact term. Spock's like, this is completely wrong. This is militarized. We don't do that. And killing someone without a trial is bad. We also don't do that. But he gets the Enterprise back, which I should have said that first. They're on the ship, and some new girl joins, and she's like, I'm the new science officer. And Spock's like, well, I'm sciencey. Why are you here? And she's just like, because I am. She's a terrible liar. Bones is all getting up at, go away. Sorry, I'm talking to my dog. Go lie down. So they go, where am I at? Oh yeah, Bones is like, your biometric readings are off the scale. Ooh, but nothing is ever made of that. It's just that his readings are off the scale. Great. Was that because he's grieving? Or is that to do with something? It's never fully explained. That annoyed me. And Scotty's not allowing the torpedoes on. He says how the smallest thing can make the warp drive blow up, and he said he's not going to sign for them because I'm not signing for them. And he's like, if you put these on the ship, I'm going. And so he does. He leaves. Scotty's gone! Ow! And Chekhov gets promoted, and he's like, which is quite cute. So they're on their way to Kronos, and suddenly there's a warp core malfunction, they have an emergency stop, and now they're in Klingon space, and they're like, oh god. So instead of firing the torpedoes like they're meant to, Sulu is acting captain while Spock, Uhura, and Kirk go down to the surface to capture the guy who is John Harrison. So as they're en route, Sulu gives him like a transmission, and it is the most badass thing. He's just like, if you do not comply, you will be obliterated. And it's quite dramatic, and I like drama. So they're en route, and it turns out Uhura and Spock have been arguing because Uhura thinks that Spock, because he didn't feel anything when he was in the volcano and about to die, that he didn't care about them. And he's like, no, you're all wrong. And they have like a mini... Woo! I got it. They have like a mini domestic on the shuttle down. And it turns out that Spock is just like, no, I don't want to feel in those situations because that's what I felt when my planet was destroyed. And blah, 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 blah. And it was quite, no. Where am I at? I've lost where I'm at now. Yeah. You go down, they're ambushed by some Klingons, and then Uhura speaks Klingon, and it's all very very much. And come here. And while they're doing that, John Harrison turns up, and he's got like a gun and some like massive thing, and he's like and basically he's a complete badass, and he kills like all the Klingons, which the Klingons look like fancy Romulans from last time. I was a bit disappointed because the Klingons were like fugly in the older ones, and I kind of liked their fugliness. It was like, look at the Klingons, but they're not like that anymore. They're just like fancy Romulans with a few more wrinkles and a little ring thing. Go away. Right, first you were quite nice, but now you're just boring. Sorry. What's next? What happened? Oh yeah, and John Harrison surrenders when he finds out he's got 72 torpedoes pointed at him. And then Kirk tries to beat him up, and it just doesn't work. He's like, oh, my arm's getting tired. And, Bennett coming back to like, bitch, these are British cheekbones. British cheekbones do not break that easily. You can punch me so many times, but these are made of steel. That's a complete assumption that British cheekbones are made of steel. They're not. It'd be cool if they were, though, wouldn't it? Actually, it'd be no advantage. Anyway, so they go back to the ship and they hold John Harrison captive, who reveals that his actual name is Khan. And he's a genetically super enhanced super being of superness, and that inside all torpedoes are his crew peeps. Well, actually, they discover that when they open one up. And then he tells them. So I actually told you that we're around. Anyway, you get the point. He also gives Kirk some coordinates, which he sends Scotty to go investigate. And Scotty goes and investigates at Jupiter. He's like, holy shit, and it cuts off. But I'm like, you've already said bastard 3 times. I'm pretty sure you could just say holy shit. Oh my shit. Or whatever shit you were going to say. Suddenly there's a warp. The ship coming out warp. And they're like, oh, is it Klingons? And it's not. It's Admiral Marcus in like some ginormous ship, the USS Vengeance. Which is humongous. And he's like, drop your shields and just give me Khan. Why didn't you just shoot the Klingons like I told you to? And Kirk thinks he's figuring it out because it's like, how convenient that they're meant to be shooting the Klingons, and how convenient that their ship was meant to be stranded in Klingon space. So if they were found, it would instantly start a war. Convenient. So as they're doing that, he's like, no, and they try and warp away from this big ass ship. And then, like, Khan is like, warp will not save you. And the girl who came on, in fact, turns out to be Marcus's daughter. So he runs into the bridge and she's like, oh my god, Dad! Because her dad's ship easily catches up with them at warp and shoots them to shit. And they fall out of warp. And then they're steering him to shit, and then she's like, Dad, stop! I'm on the ship! You can't shoot the ship when I'm on! And he's like, and warps her out. Not warp, what do you call it? Yeah, warp! And the ship's about to open fire on the Enterprise, and then suddenly all power goes down, and it turns out Scotty must have found the ship behind Jupiter, and he's invaded the ship, and he's cut off all the power. So, Kirk persuades Khan to go to the ship and destroy it from the inside, since they can't flee and they can't fire at the Vengeance. So as they're doing so, there's like another bromance moment between Spock and Kirk, where he's like, I should go with you, and Kirk's like, you need to be here, you need to be the captain that this team deserves, and I love them. So they go across, and as they're flying across, they go through a debris field, and lots of drama about that, because they think Khan's dead, because he hit some debris, and Kirk's visor breaks, so he can't see how Ray's going, and he can't, but everything's fine. Everything's fine then. And, what was I saying? But Spock contacts old Spock to ask him how he defeated Khan. He's like, well, I can't change your fate. Your destiny's yours. What the fuck? Okay. So they get onto the ship, and Khan does some kick-ass, and, they get Scotty, and they go to the bridge, and Khan just smashes Marcus' face. He's like, and he crushes him too. Then Khan gets all, gimme my crew, or I blast the shit out of you. And then begins a mini, logic witty war between Spock and Khan, where Spock's like, well, if you do that, then all of your people will die on the ship, so you can't shoot me, and I'm not going to give you them. And then Khan's like, I'll just target life support systems because your crew require air, and mine don't, because they're all in cryo sleep. So he gives them the torpedoes, and he's like, okay. And Kirk and Scotty and the girl are beamed back to the Enterprise. And then Khan's about to open fire, and then all the torpedoes explode. And he's like, no, my crew! And Kirk thinks, that's a bit cold for you. And he's like, no, I'm not that cold. And it turns out they took all the people out of the torpedoes, and just gave him dead torpedoes. However, there's no power now, and Earth's gravity is pulling the Enterprise down. It's going to explode, and oh god, the drama. So Kirk goes down to the warp core, and he goes into the warp core, which irradiates all his cells, and he gets the power going by aligning some shiz together that'll make the warp core work. And then so all power's back on, they're like, it's a miracle! And Spock's like, there are no such miracles. And then Scotty's like, oh, Spock, get out of the engine room, I know! Actually, he's Scottish, so he doesn't sound anything like that. And then there's a major bro moment, oh god, where Kirk's still in the area of the warp core, and Spock's like, open this door now! And he's like, no, you'll flood the whole compartment with radiation, we can't open it. And then they have a bro moment between the glass, and they're both crying, and Spock's crying, and Kirk's like, I'm scared, Spock. It's like, oh god! And then it's the exact scene from one of the older films, Wrath of Khan, where her jogs up and she's crying and everyone's crying, and then he dies, and then Spock's like, Khan! And then Khan's ship like comes out of nowhere and it's like, it sent me to Starship Enterprise headquarters. Doesn't sound like that. So they do, and his ship crashes, and Spock's like, God, scan the ship for life signs. And they do, and then Spock beams down, and they try and have like there's lots of running, running. I love running shots because I love to see everyone's really awkward run, especially Spock, because he's got that kind of like little fringe. So as he was running, it was flapping about, and it was really cute. Anyway, and they have some kind of epic battle, and they find out that if they use Khan's blood, because of its magical properties, they can bring Kirk back from the dead. So Uhura beams down, and she's like, Spock! Spock! She does a lot of shouting throughout the whole thing. And she starts screaming and shouting. And then they find out, and then they capture him. I'm just going to go really short now, because I've realised how much time I've spent babbling on. So they capture Khan, and they use his blood, and Kirk wakes up. And there's yet another bro moment between the two of them, you know, where he's like, you saved me. And Spock's like, yeah, you know, that's what you had done, you know. And it's like, And then Khan's been put back into cryosleep, and that's it, really. That's the film. I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. It's just some parts I just felt a bit. It just seemed. I'll give it a 7 out of 10 because I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. Some parts I just didn't get. I've watched it and I was like, this is the end. No. Oh, they're out of danger. Oh, no. It kind of seemed like everything happened, but nothing happened. When I try and remember what happened in Star Trek Into the Darkness, I really struggle. But it was a good film. While I'm watching it, I think this is a good film, but I can't. It's not a memorable film. That's the word. It's not a memorable film. But there you go. Bish bash bosh. I don't know why I did that. Never mind.